Order. All right. Good evening, directors, staff, and members of the public joining us in person and those watching online. I'll repeat myself that I will now call the September 26th regular business meeting of the Twin Cities German Immersion School Board to order. Before we begin, we can reflect on our mission, vision, and values. The mission of the Twin Cities German Immersion School is the innovative education of the whole child through German immersion. Our vision is Andere Hören, Andere Sehen, Weltoffen Denken und Handeln, educating multilingual world citizens who hear others, see others, and think and act with an open mind. Our values are curiosity, kindness, challenge and support, intercultural engagement, and community. We acknowledge and appreciate that TCJS is located on Whakapute, Dakota traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homeland near Lake Minnewatka in the land now known as Minnesota Makoche. Our presence here is linked to generations of Whakapute stewardship over their land, as well as to the historical and ongoing injustices of settler colonization that impact Indigenous people to the present day. We are committed to understanding our role in this legacy and to educating ourselves and our community about Indigenous history through continued mindfulness and engagement in and outside of the classroom. Mayor Eberhardt, will you please call the roll for the record?
Sure. Director Reich,
Here.
Director Lindner,
Here.
Director Heidt,
Here.
Director Albers,
Here.
Director Larson,
Here.
Director Yamaneop.
On his way.
On his way, okay. Director Miller.
Here.
Director Smaka.
She is excused.
And Director Tesfayesus. And ex officio member, Executive Director Elizabeth Timpany.
Here. Excellent. We have a quorum, barely. We're here. So. The first order of business for tonight is to approve our meeting minutes from August. Can I get a motion to approve August's meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Hyde. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Albers. Any discussion on last month's meeting minutes? Here, was there a correction over here? Ed, did you have something?
I was pointing out that the minutes were not in the board packet. Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Here's the agenda, so I resent it to you.
Okay, so we'll get that added. Perfect. Anything else missing or need adjusted? Perfect. The minutes are approved. We'll move on to approving tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Lindner. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Larson. Any discussion or amendments to tonight's agenda? Any corrections?
Under finance and facilities, there's an action to authorize the transfer of funds. I am just adding in those amounts right now, so not changing anything agenda wise.
Okay. Excellent. Did we have the specific board charters being approved? Because, okay. We didn't list them, but just the ones that are ready. So, okay. Excellent. All right. Then we will approve tonight's agenda. And the first item on our agenda is public forum. And I do not believe we have anyone signed in for public forum. Did I missed anything? All right. Anything? No? Okay. Then we will close tonight's public forum. All right, and that kicks us off with our special recognition. each board meeting, we try to recognize people in our community who have gone above and beyond in some way, shape, or form to help support our mission and our day-to-day operations of our school. So tonight, we have two groups being recognized, and I'm actually gonna kick it over to President Finig to talk a little bit more specifically about those being recognized tonight. The first group is our capstone coordinators who are busy this week.
We can start there, yeah. Yeah, so this is the third year since the pandemic that we have had students visit, and the third year that we've had this capstone exchange since I've been here. And we learned from the Germans to sort of create a rotation. So this is also the last year that I'll be a part of this group because we found Claudia Mueller has a real propensity for this. And so we're training her in for all the things. This is her first year as the capstone coordinator. Esther Noy has been a part of this ever since it's been here at TCGS. She's the one who found the schools, started the Steck brief. She's done a whole lot. She works on the financial aid end. She matches the students. She does a lot of the behind the scenes work. And then Claudia is the one who is creating all of the activities that the students are doing once they're here. So they arrived last night and tonight. The whole entire group will be at TCGS for the first time tomorrow. And so it's going to be really energetic around here. It's really exciting. There are a lot of people to thank. Dr. Sweeney is doing tie-dye tomorrow. We've got people that are subbing for other people, and people are jumping in so that Claudia can be free to be doing things. So there's a lot of really positive energy around it. 51 German students, extra students in the building tomorrow. So I just can't say enough about what Claudia has done for this group. We're excited to head over in spring, and Esther and I are going to release her, and it's going to be great. She's doing a great job.
Awesome.
The screener team is the next group. And with the READ Act, the legislature on the READ Act, they changed the date of some of the screeners that are required, and they moved it up significantly. This team was amazing at rolling out this screening process. So great that I even got a couple of emails from parents in our community who are teachers at other schools, and they said, "What is your secret? How do you have this done already?" And this is our secret. We have this team. Esther Noy leads the screening team with a lot of support from Dr. Mecklenburg, Aoife Schneider-Baumeister, Ginger Sanford, Natalie Kaplan, Roxanne Cornell, and Maren Flavel are all teachers that are staffed through ADSIS funds. And the first part of the school year for them is instigating these screeners. So we're screening in German, math, and English. And we use the interns as help for this. That's how we get it done. So I'm really proud of the work that TCGS has done. These people should be commended. We've had our data meetings, and so we're already using the data.
Amazing. Thank you to our capstone team, capstone coordinators, and screeners team. Obviously, it's the old analogy of teamwork that really gets a lot done. So thank you to all of them for all of your extra efforts at the start of the school year. Awesome. I think you get to keep going.
I'm just going to keep adding. Great.
So that moves us to our director's report. We're happy to have Kim Hackett here joining us today to be a part of that. Thanks for being here 2 late nights in a row with facilities committee last night. So appreciate you both taking the time to be here, and I will let you guys take it away with a director's report and enrollment and outreach update.
Great. Yeah, Kim is here. She wears 2 hats at school. She's the director of operations and also human resources, and she's wearing her director of operations hat today. We work together with our team. There are about 3 different committees that you'll see their work represented in the next couple of slides. We have a recruitment team, recruitment and retainment team. We have an enrollment team. We've got a budget team, and everybody has their hands when we're talking about these topics. So the first slide that we have, if you keep going, will show our enrollment updates. Right now, at this moment, we are sitting at 564. And so that is a number that again works with these couple of different teams. That's a budget situation. We need to, move some things around. More on that later. There's a recruitment opportunity here because you can see we don't have any offers out or anything on the wait list. So there's opportunities to try to be grabbing kids. And there's also sort of a marketing meeting that is happening when we're thinking about already on to the next enrollment cycle about what we might do differently or what we need to continue doing. So we're approaching recruitment as a two-sided coin. One is recruitment and one is just retaining. All of these numbers, 564, ties into our funding. And so the first slide that I wanted Kim to talk about was what does that mean and what are those funding sources?
Yeah, so this is just a high level overview of where we get our funding from. The blue that you see here is the majority of our budget, which is based on enrollment. So when that enrollment fluctuates, so does that budget, or so does that number. And so it really highlights how important enrollment is to our budget, our overall budget, and why we need enrollment in order to continue functioning here. The other enrollments are a little bit less here, or sorry, the other funding sources are a little bit less here. But they're still important. That other revenue, the red pie chart there, is all of our local grants. That's where the donations come in through our capital campaign. Any interest we earn in our accounts, and any facility rentals. Facility rentals were new this year. We just started this past Sunday. We just had our first rental. That group has one Sunday a month for the whole year. So that's a good revenue source. We have a couple other rentals throughout the year coming up. Federal funds are the smallest of the pie there, but they are also important. And there's a good chunk there of state aid that is not enrollment based. But again, our huge piece of the pie there is based on enrollment. And thus the enrollment carries us through our budget.
So the next slide is talking about some application trends as we're gearing up to the application season. We've looked retrospectively at the last couple of years to see where we're at. Nicole Crashell is our enrollment lead. She was unable to make it tonight, but she did create these slides for us, and we walk through them when we meet as a team. So the first graph are the applications received during that peak window, which is around November to February. This graph influenced how we chose the timelines for this year. We usually receive many applications at the start of November. Things are going on maybe family-wise in December, school's not in session, things like that. We see a drop and then another big wave after the first of the year. And then it trails off to spring and summer. The second graph is one that, I'll be honest, I found slightly confusing because the years overlap. And so you have to think about when the school year ends and when the next one starts. And so we are technically getting applications in throughout the entire year. But this October, so if you look at the green line, is 2024. It started last year for this school year, but we haven't received any yet for next year. Any questions about those two slides so far? Trends by month is the next slide. So taking that data and then piecing it out a little bit more. The first graph shows the total of applications received in an entire year by October 1. And so if you look at our year 24-25 at 168, it's the lowest of the years on that graph, significantly lower than our average, which is 222. We did hold with kindergarten, which is where we see the greatest opportunity for enrollment. Interestingly enough, we do not get a ton of applications in September. people make their choices and stay. We did receive 2 this year. Generally, we would expect to receive maybe only 1 or 2 new applications each month for the current school year. So there are 2 paths that are happening right now. One is gearing up for the next year, and then one is still trying to see who we can grab for this year. And you can see that application by month is really, it really speaks to you about what our path needs to be. So the enrollment timeline, we made some tweaks and adjustments, is the next slide.
Can I ask a quick question?
For
about
sure.
That,
And I hope
the peak of the 2022, 2023 January, was there anything that drove that? Because that's just a notable.
Huge.
It's a
peak.
huge peak, yeah.
That was a thing
It
we
was, we
discussed. There
talked
really
about it.
wasn't anything specific happening then. That Nicole could really highlight that being the cause for that huge peak, but it is a significant.
Is that the year we went back to everyone?
It is. Well, no, that was the year before. 21, 22 was the year that we were. No, I think it is. I think it was the year that we all went back. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what the timeline was that year. I don't know if it changed, if applications were accepted later.
Mhm.
I don't have those dates in my head. It's a good question. I'll write it down and see
If
if,
you guys have already
if
talked about it, it's
Nicole-
fine.
yeah.
It might have just been a outlier too.
yeah, we do know that the attendance that year was interesting too. So that was a strange year. Okay, so this enrollment timeline. We are thinking about when the applications will open. We're thinking about the lottery deadline, and we're thinking about tours leading up to that. So we are going to have alternating Tuesdays. Actually, Nicole just changed this. It's going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. We met today at 10:30 a.m. We had some changes in our schedules, and so we needed to adjust to what kindergarten would be available for. And so the time is close, but I think it's within 20 minutes. And then 2 evenings a month beginning at 4 p.m. Tours will be led by this enrollment team. Nicole Crashell and Paige will alternate. I will be there for most of them. The ones that happen during the day, I'll probably rotate between the Dean of Students and Assistant Principal Radke, and we'll all take part. The kindergarten teachers will participate in the school ones, the ones that are during the school day, and we'll open the 4 p.m. ones to any teachers, and it will count as one of those recruitment events towards the longevity pay. We see that there are still a significant amount of people coming that are not kindergarten families, and so to be able to answer middle school questions is still really valid. The application is going to open a little bit earlier this year. We're going to open it October 1st, which is right around the corner, moving the lottery up to the 31st of the deadline, and then the actual lottery on the 3rd. The lottery results then will be communicated February 4th.
How many days are you pulling the lottery forward?
I think based on last year, we're moving it up about 2 weeks. And the mentality behind that is to be better in line with other charter schools that potentially families have applications at 2 charter schools. So they don't, hear back from one, make a decision and then stick with that. And then we're kind of second fiddle to that. We'd like to be on that same timeline.
Are there specific kindergarten only tours that are happening at all, or is?
There are not.
Okay.
What we have done is if there are only a few middle school families or if there are other families, because there are several people at that, we've pulled apart. And I just kind of met in the hallway with middle school families while Nicole does her thing with kindergarten families or the kindergarten teachers talk. So we have some flexibility. There's not people at those. We can cater. Nimble. All right, yeah,
Sorry, school question.
for sure.
It's been a long time since I applied at the school, so question.
But you've been here a long
I
time.
When parents apply or families apply, does it ask in the application why they're applying to the school? The reason I ask is, then can we use that data postmortem to see is it one category or the other? You should choose
Should choose
us.
it.
Yeah, like if they applied because they want German immersion. They want us or an alternative to their local school, and maybe they don't really care where they ended up as long as it's not that local school, right?
There
It'll be
is a,
interesting to see.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is a question on it. I don't know if it's phrased as like,
I don't know if it's phrased why us.
yeah.
Okay.
But that would be an interesting data. point
Yeah,
to
and
collect.
maybe might be late for this year with the October first application, but just could be something that helps get data.
Well.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So one more question. What's this, and this might be too in the weeds, so I apologize if it's like too detailed, but what's the follow-up after a family comes and completes a tour? What's kind of the next cadence of communication that they receive or the follow-up to?
Great question. I think what happens is I think Nicole gives them all an application, definitely wants them to walk out with an application. As far as follow-up after that, I don't know that answer 100%.
I'm sure there's a plan.
I'm sure there's like an email system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are
I
good
think
questions.
there's a strategic thing, but it's a great question to follow up on.
Even like some of the things like following us on social or, things like that where they can just
Yeah.
continue to be engaged.
That happens for sure.
Yeah.
That I
Okay.
know for sure. Yeah. There's a keyword. Great questions. Enrollment trends. This is something that Nicole really likes to dive into, and so she spent a lot of time kind of dissecting this data. And basically this is our attrition rate. And so the attrition rate, the average attrition rate from the beginning of the school year is 5.4%. But this year we experienced 7%. So we saw an increase in the attrition rate from people who signed on and said they would come and then did not. So we took advantage of that opportunity to dig a little deeper into some of the whys. And I think that might not be the next slide, but it's definitely one of the next slides. Most of the attrition is in grades 1, 2, 6, and 7. And 29% of all students who left this summer did so because they were moving and were no longer within reach of the school. So it's a third of our kids. Some of them left because their sibling was going to another school. A lot of it is around the idea of commuting and taking kids places, and not necessarily because our transportation system isn't working, but just because the parents are driving around a lot in the city.
Do we still have Zuban?
Switching sort of to the recruitment idea. This was a question that was proposed at Committee of the Whole a couple weeks ago. How did new families hear about TCGIS? And so I asked Nicole about that. She couldn't parse out the data for just kindergarten families, but most of the families represented in this pie are kindergarten families. There are some extras. And so of the families that answered this question, 14 of them heard from word of mouth. Hey, that's a good school. I'm going to send my kid there. The next largest groups were our website and Kinderstube. We've created quite a good system with our preschool friends, and now we're seeing a significant amount of kids coming from Kinderstube as we create that pre-K-12 line. Just hearing about it via the GAI was one family. We've got a couple of families that are here because their kids are here because their moms or dads work here. And then one was an online search of a good school, and our school came up, which means not a lot of people are coming here because they are searching for successful charter school in the Twin Cities area. We did. Yeah, we did. We've been working on that search with the new marketing firm that we chose. And, there were a couple, 6 of them who were on our website. And so optimizing our search engine is something that I think is definitely lucrative. And I think we definitely want to dive into. It seems like there's a good motivator for doing that. So the timeline for recruitment is the next slide. Starting with things we've already done. We've talked about August. We're continuing some of the Midtown Global Market things. Oktoberfest was a big deal. We've got a kindergarten family play date, had a kindergarten family play date, and then we're doing a 5th grade one coming up. And that's we just want to make sure that the parents are feeling connected with the community and that kids are making friends and it's an opportunity to schedule another play date or connect with families and talk about, hey, how are you managing those house shua and the tennis shua and all the shua, right? So kindergarten play date was a success. Paige is going to be at the Columbia Heights Pride Fest things last weekend. And then some of these events are just kind of continuing throughout. Some new ones that are on here. Paige is going to the College in the Schools Field Day. We feel like that's a good spot to go and find some workers for our kinder club. Those are our target market people. And then the Twin Cities Pride Trunk or Treat event is a new event for Paige. The GII is having a Lanternen Fest. That's something new. It's not the same weekend as ours, so it's going to be a lot of Lanterna in November. And then looking towards December, we just reached out for the second time to talk about the European Christmas Market with the GAI. They have connections to the woman who runs that or started it, and they're looking at upping their presence at that, and they wanted us to partner with them. So talk about your target market. Minneapolis School Fair Finder is still on there, and then we've got some prospective family coffee clutches. So we're continually brainstorming places to send Paige. She is out of the building often. She is hin and hair making friends at all of these places.
Is there still a charter school fair?
There is.
That one. I just didn't see that one. Maybe I missed it.
It is, I know we talked about it. I know she's going. I'm not sure. She just picked a couple of things. Yeah. Unless it's on the next one. If you're wanting to help, we're still looking for helpers for the Harvest Festival in Tilden Park and the Twin Cities Pride Trunk or Treat. We do know that that's the same day as ours. So Paige is worried about having it in her car. Anyone has a large car?
Where's Tilden Park?
I have no idea.
It's around here somewhere. I signed up to go, so.
It's around here?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does a large car mean?
Not a Honda Civic.
Not a Honda Civic. Something with probably like a.
So not yours.
I think she's looking more for like an SUV that has like a back that can open, that you can, hand out candy from.
You got this car.
Kind of, right?
We're trying to sell it on our European attitude of fuel efficient cars that just kind of fits and.
Apple probably has a big.
Oh my goodness, funny.
Alright.
Because we had that larger number of attrition that trailed off through September, we created a couple of recruitment and retainment practices that we hope will continue. We wrote a letter to all the families that did not enroll and sent those via the US mail. We created a spreadsheet to track the correspondence with these families. This week, I finished up all the just cold called every single kindergarten family. Talked to a lot of voice messages, left the same consistent message, hoping that their kiddo was having a great experience, but that if they weren't, that we still had some space and our low kindergarten classes were a great place for kids to grow, etc. I did talk to one parent who then got a follow-up call from our SPED dean, Andrew Haugen, and we might have got one. So stay tuned. Hopeful.
Do you think it would be beneficial to do a follow-up call by somebody else?
I wondered because we kind of
'Cause if
did that.
two, like,
right.
Different people call, it might be different than you calling twice if two different people or something.
Yeah, so that I just don't become that crazy lady.
Yes,
Calls all the time.
exactly.
I know, I thought about that. Yeah, is the board volunteering to help make some of those calls? Because I think
I'm
it
not making
needs to
any
be
decision.
somebody at the school that can. Yeah.
What about a teacher with a
Yeah.
really nice voice?
It's not me.
Yeah, I did find out some information from other families and, there's some hardship out there. And nobody said anything that was a surprise. No one said, we we found a better school. It was just, there were really good reasons, so. Along that idea, we are switching to a new marketing and recruitment firm. This is our guy. This is Dallin from Utah, and he runs this company called Charter Connect. And it's a marketing firm that works specifically with charter schools. He has a lot of passion for the charter school world. We met with him and he actually came to the school. We met with him, Kim and Paige and I, and then we met again online with Board Chair Reich and Board Vice Chair Lindner. And he's a good sell. He really knows his stuff. And he's not selling us on anything that's not going to work. He says if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. It's a month-to-month contract, which I really like. He worked with Paige and in half an hour had already optimized our search engine. And we feel like we're on our way. He's helping her. He's helping us do the things in-house so that then we can eventually, a good consultant and a good contractor works himself out of a job. The first price that we have is the $1,000 ad spend because they need to be able to control the pieces that will grab people in first. So that's part of that ad spend. And then this Enrollio, which you can see on the first graphic, is actually a product that they've designed that is part of the enrollment process. And so we get this product with a contract and we will switch over to that for our enrollment process. So we will not use the Google form anymore. And what was really interesting about this is that he stated that if you sign on to the Google form, start your application, but then drop off, we lose the ability to go after that or track that. And so with this product, it's a lot less that you're filling out immediately. It's sort of just, name, add, blah, blah, send it out. And then we've got that. We can call you, we can find you, we can email you. And he suggested shortening our initial enrollment application and just had some really good ideas about search engine optimization. So we're super excited to start working with Dallin and his crew.
Question for you. Do
Yeah.
you expect that to be in place for next Tuesday when enrollment opens?
So that's a great question. He, first of all, he said we could do it.
Okay.
Nicole said, or what if we, I think our plan is to split the difference. We're going to get going on our standard application that will drop on October 1st. She's trying really hard she's enrolling in this Enrollio software. She's watching the videos. She's getting things up to speed. Our goal is to have that application up by October 15th. October 1st was a little lofty.
Yeah, and even if we don't use that information to contact families, that would just be great data.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And he charges us per student that he finds, and this is how he knows who he's getting through his tools.
We should say per student enrolled.
Per student enrolled. Per student enrolled, which to him means in a seat on September 1 or October 1, and he gets to get students for the rest of this year. Did you want to add anything to that?
Just that the 250 per student is capped. We can cap it, like if they're finding us 4 or 5 students a month, which would be fantastic, they can cap it at $500 a month, a flat fee, which would save us money, obviously. We would love to get to a point where we could get 4 or 5 students a month.
Good problem.
Yes, but that is it can be capped.
Is that for just this year or next year also?
So the enrollment, the numbers for next year, we could switch to a lead fee. It's $25 per lead. This is just for this year. This is.
You can actually
at this meeting.
split.
Jens, you were at this meeting?
Yeah.
Do you understand it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good then.
My chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I
Director Reich
was
is
gonna
not
ask
there.
a whole bunch of questions, make sure I understood it, but if Jens understands, I'm good. You still ask.
You,
Right, I just have to ask something. It's not about this one. I think that's a great idea. Or maybe I missed the information. When they have the tour and then they get the application and let's say they choose another school and we call them or have that talk, is it only per phone and or directly, or is it also they fill out an online survey about this? Why didn't they choose us?
There is, Nicole, when they unenroll and or didn't show up on the first 5 days,
Yeah.
Nicole sends them an exit survey. And so they can offer that information on there. So that's why I only called, of the 20 kids, I only called the ones that didn't have an answer. Some of them said moving, some of them said other reasons. I only called the ones that did not put something down or that we didn't have information from. Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. That's the end of the sort of enrollment recruitment story. If there are any final questions on that, we go to financial indicators. We are recognizing that it is one of the more important things that we do in our day. Financial indicators we're still sort of talking about as end of fiscal year 24. We did get financials in our mailbox this week, and so the cash on hand is already a better situation, but this is where it stands at the end of the fiscal year. Days cash on hand, 48, and then as of, if nothing changes by the end of the year, would also be 48. Our enrolled at the time of this was 565, it's now 564. You might remember that the budget was approved at 585, so there is a discrepancy there. We're gonna have to take a look at that. Kind of waiting for our October 1st count. Because in type, our DSCR is above our required 1.0.
That's the end of the year projection, right?
That is the end of the year projection, yes, sorry, correct. And the fund balance is the part where 26.2%, Kelly said we need to probably look at that with the fund balance going to the playground. We need to take a look at the remaining funds. And so we're going to talk at finance about an LOC line of credit. Thank you. Where we will borrow against the building company, just to ensure that our fund balance percentage stays what our bond covenants require. More on that,
Okay.
cash on hand. We have made some working budget adjustments already, and we probably have a few more to do. Looking at our enrollment, we landed on we changed the number that we had in our working budget about resource teacher stipends because we make an estimate. So now we know how many resource teachers we need, so we adjusted those. We knew that we had some coordinator positions that we needed to wait on. We did not add those. We did move some staffing around since the budget was approved, so we are not as behind as one might think. And I will say there are systems in place that are really encouraging careful spending. While we're waiting for the audit, while we're waiting for the October 1 count, there isn't a crazy amount of money that is bleeding out. We have it all it feels really under control right now. People are using the budget system, the budget process, the purchase order process. We're purchasing things that were budgeted for, and if it was not budgeted for, we are not purchasing it, things like that. In a great turn of events, the PTO found some extra revenue in their funds and increased the support that they are providing to teachers with PD and supplies. And the number went from, Kim and I thought 4,000 to 12,000. It's a huge deal. So major kudos to Monica Komokomo, who looked at the books, and to the PTO for that amazing donation. So our teachers shouldn't have to worry about any PD that they want to do or about any supplies that they'll need. This is our exciting new revenue source, the clothesbin. The clothesbin will hopefully be arriving in the next 6 weeks. It's going to sit in the front of the building on the Como side. And it really ties in with our sustainability efforts, potential to raise an additional $5,000, but also do a good service. It'll be a neighborhood drop zone. So it's not just for our community, it's for anybody around the Como area. And we stand to make 7 cents per pound on clothes, shoes, and bags. It's a pretty cool product. So we're excited.
Bags.
Purses, handbags. From Wisconsin, bags, satchels, fanny packs. but who would give those up?
Take my clothes already.
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch in my basement just waiting for this, so.
One question that Elizabeth and I both had is, we've all seen the bins around town that are just, piled with stuff around. They can actually monitor this from satellite, and if it is messy, if it is full, they can come and clean that up right away. So they take.
They
care
come
of
and clean it up?
Mhm.
What if like somebody sets a mattress next to it? Is that our responsibility or?
Andy guys are probably doing it.
It's like clothes.
that. We might.
We do have a camera out there now,
Deal with
so.
that.
So we will find the neighborhood.
Mattresses.
Yeah. Ready for the next slide. Okay, staffing updates. We have two positions that are posted right now. We have to fill our 7th and 8th grade humanities. From looking to take some time off. And unfortunately, we have a departure of our beloved elementary ed teacher. Is heading back to Austria, so we have a posting for that. Scott Meyer is our new front office reception, working both on front office tasks, answering the phones, and also assisting in the lunchroom supervision. So he was that person that we knew we needed with the contract negotiations changing to like fewer duties for teachers. Nina is working on spring interns. We'll have about 10 spring interns. She's got really great candidates lined up. She's very excited. And our succession planning is continuing on cross training with emphasis on somebody's upcoming leave. Not
Not happening today, don't worry.
I have to say, I had to call the school today to get a note to my daughter, and Miss Scott was very pleasant.
He's great, yeah.
I didn't know about it, and I'm like, who's Scott? But he was great.
He's got and he speaks German. He's got a great story. He's one of those people that is here for the mission.
That's awesome.
It's very great. Union updates, this is an excellent addition. We had this sort of supervision snafu and changes have now been made. Our contract is compliant. Our supervision duty schedule is set for hopefully the 4th and final time, and everything seems to be going okay. As a result of that, we can now officially commence the 25-26 union negotiations, and we will start setting our meeting cover dates. On to academics.
Is Zach getting that started, Elizabeth? Or
Zach
Quite there yet?
we're not ready for Zach yet.
Okay.
But soon, yeah, he's on call. Council updates, current council will be conducting elections and use the new delegates to refresh the charter. Student council elections will be held soon. Katrin Gilhoff will be heading that off again this year. Staff council will have their first meeting, and then the goal is for all council meetings to happen twice this year in the 2nd semester. Okay, now academics. Big day, a couple weeks ago, the DSD 1 ceremony happened. We had 33 students reaching the B1 level, which is a pass. That's a 75% pass rate. There's a couple slides down that will show you some comparative data. 5 students who didn't make the B1 did make the A2 out of 44 students that took the test. So B1 shows that you are on your way to the level that you need to be at in order to take the DSD2 and pass that, showing proficiency enough to study in Germany. The DSD meeting for this year's 8th graders will be in November, FYI. And then for the first time this year, the students received the certificate on the right, which is the Minnesota World Language Proficiency Certificate. It's part of the Seal of Biliteracy. Middle school students are not allowed to receive the Seal of Biliteracy, but they can get this certificate, which shows that they're on pace to get the seal as a high school student, which is college credits. It's kudos. It's quite an achievement.
I was
What do you
able to join that. And I was just gonna say it was a very cool ceremony to come to. So congratulations to all those students. I also want to go back to figuring out the supervision duties and just want to give a kudos to all the teachers and union members that were involved in the administrative team for thinking really creatively and working together to figure that out. So, thank you.
Makes me feel hopeful about the negotiations if we're gonna be good. Kevin, for some reason, the next slide is not what I want the next slide to be. I want that to come later. I want those bar graphs. If you can, yeah, let's do that one.
Hey, Elizabeth,
Yeah.
before we move on, what's the threshold for that certificate? Is it the same as like A1 or?
The threshold is for world language certificate is actually A2. A2
Okay,
and
so 38 students got
Correct.
certificate,
Thank
33
you.
got it.
Correct. Yes, the threshold is lower. So the percent passing the DSD one, you can see that we were lower than 2023, higher than coming out of the pandemic. And pre-pandemic scores were pretty high. So we do use this data. Every class is different, and that's the trickiest thing about data. But we do know, if you look on the next slide, breaks it down by modality, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And where we're seeing the biggest drop off is actually sort of in that, I see something over in the reading, if you compare it to 2020, and then the writing, which we always know is the lowest, something that our teachers, I think, work really hard on, but the speaking really was lower this time. So one thing that the German Immersion Task Force is working on is creating two sort of motivators or two systems to encourage our students speaking German at school. And that's going to be a focus of the German Immersion Task Force.
Elizabeth, on this and year by year results, could the screeners be used as predictors?
I asked that question. Yeah. I think that we are looking at that because we do have the EFL odds by the 6th grade test. Yeah. The teachers who taught that class last year looked at that data very closely. And so I know that those teachers work together to adjust, hey, we need to do this, we need to take this thing out, we need to do this instead. So there are some very nimble adjustments that are made as a result of the 6th grade screener right away. But yes, we can.
Yeah, and then see if it correlates, right? It's coming.
Yeah. I asked that too, and Esther got so excited to dive into that data. So she's working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could we also use the screeners to offer parents enrichment activities in the summer camps in Germany?
What do you mean?
Like,
Could be,
I mean, I get where my kid is at,
oh, sure.
and if she's behind, like, might be interested in summer camps in German.
Yeah, hey,
Get her up to
the
speed.
speaking summer camp would be really great for your kid. This writing workshop would be really great for your kid.
Here's the score.
Yeah, here's
Get it pumped.
how we can help.
Yeah.
Or here's what you can do,
Is
and
that
put it in
eighth
with others.
graders, right? It's like from the 8th grade.
But we're talking about the
Less-
6th grade screeners that come before this. Yeah, so kind of heading the data off. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a nice idea. I did meet with Daisy yesterday, and she's digging through Michaela's files to find out some timelines. We're already starting to talk about summer. She's got some.
So I have a question. Was there any sign that this outcome would be happening in 8th grade, in 6th grade? Because they also get tested in 6th grade. So maybe we missed signs that this would have happened.
Right,
So what are we gonna do to not miss it again?
right, right.
How much, sorry.
Go ahead. The hardest thing is that this group in 6th grade, they had just come out of COVID. And so we weren't sure what that data, we can't blame everything on COVID. We should not.
That would be my question, because you have the listening is scoring pretty high. So sitting in front of screens, listening to a teacher, right?
Mhm.
But not say having that speaking engagement during COVID and
Right.
then the switch from elementary school to middle school.
Yeah, so some of it could just be limited exposure to the language. It could be, you know that you get the speaking skills last out of those 4, and you need a certain amount of hours and things like that in order to be able to produce that. Yeah, those are all really valid questions and concerns.
But mostly I think in every language, when you learn it, the listening skills are always the hardest. the easiest one. So you hear the teacher speak and
Yeah.
you're listening to songs. TV.
Anytime you're producing, right, writing or speaking, it's gonna be more difficult. You have to remember that the DSD is also more daily language. You talk about your family, you talk about your free time, you talk about something that you're interested in. And a lot of our 7th and 8th grade courses, they're academic language. And so the correlation. Okay, then, I wonder, Kevin, if we should go back to teacher support. I'm sorry, I don't know why that's out of order. Just a couple of things that we're doing for teacher support. We started our walkthrough observations for probationary teachers. We created a walkthrough rubric. We'll look at the data and see if we have any trends there, things we need to support with our new teachers. That's teachers years 1 through 3. And anybody that moved to a new position. So even if you're a probationary teacher, but now you're doing special ed, well, you didn't do that before, you got on that list. So we're trying to take a look at what's happening with all of the new teachers. Something new to our QComp program, the Individual Growth and Development Plan. We had training for that on the 23rd. Teachers will choose something to work on that will help the larger site team goal, but they get to choose their own individual growth. And Angela Kolinich is going to come from MDE to talk to, actually she's not coming, she's going to do an online session with our teachers on science standards. And then our QComp kickoff is happening next Thursday on our PD with our first PLC meetings happening. We have a new PLC coordinator. Her name is Emily Albers. Great. Okay. Now, Kevin, if you go all the way to capstone. Great, thanks. This is exciting. The GAI, I talked to Gina Anderson a couple weeks ago, and the GAI is promising and pledging $4,000 for capstone scholarships for our students that have a financial need. And it's a scholarship that they plan on not having just this year. They'd like it to be reoccurring. We are entering into an official scholarship partnership, which is really exciting. They took some notes down on what we thought the application could look like, but they're doing all of the work. They're creating the application, they're taking in all the information, they're making the decisions, which is also really helpful for us, right? Because giving us that money and then saying, okay, no, you figure it out. Well, no, they're like doing the whole thing. It's amazing.
So students will apply to the GAI.
Students will apply to the GAI. It's all through the GAI. Yeah. The parent group, I have to say, for this year's capstone is really actively helping. Aviva Quant organized the twins game tomorrow. She's doing a great job. Sarah Wilkinson is a strong advocate for this team, working on fundraising. Let's see, what is that? Yeah, they're already here. There are a few families that are sharing a student. I'll just kind of say that here in case there's any buzz around that, around the why. We have 71 kids and we got 51 to come, but that's all. You know, we are a really big group this year, really big group. We've been kind of worried about this group for the last couple of years and we just don't have enough. And so there are some kids that are sharing, which worked out because there are some kids who don't have space, who didn't maybe want to entertain taking a person. It's a lot to put yourself out there. And so we do have some students that are sharing. We are looking kind of for this reason at adding another school. Part of the reason that I'll be going in spring is to meet with another school and see if there's some interest there. And we might need to think about either adding a fourth or, you know, changing something around.
I'll say I talked to 2 families last night that were sharing, like not 2 that were sharing with each other, but 2 different ones that were sharing. And they both were either super cool with it or happy about it being. So.
Yeah, great. We are sharing. We are very happy.
We're sharing.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, the more the merrier.
Well, that's 4 of the.
Yeah, right there, right there. Looking ahead, MCA numbers are being crunched. The presentation will be in October because MDE released the MCA numbers later. We're just shifting that. So we'll look for that in October. Math is going to for sure be a QComp goal. So Esther Noy, Claudia Miller, and I are working on what that QComp goal will look like. Curriculum Advisory Committee. is gonna make some math suggestions. We're looking at our math data and we see some trends around fifth grade, and so we're gonna take a look at that curriculum. And then as a result of the fifth grade MCAs, because we saw them in June or much earlier, we made some changes to sixth grade math and how sixth grade math is running this year. So we have 3 different levels. We differentiated the math levels. We chose who was in which group by a couple of different factors. One was MCAs, one was teacher feedback, one was math screeners. And that's going really well. They have 3 different curriculums so that the kids who are in those classes can get what they need. They're taught by Kim Micklin, who is a licensed SPED teacher and a licensed elementary teacher, Roxanne Cornell, who is a trained interventionist, and Marin Flavel, who I don't even know how to explain her. She's the smartest woman I've ever known. Yeah, she's just wonderful. She's been teaching for her whole life, and she's so excited. So this is a dream team right now. Our sixth graders are really getting a dream team. That's all I have. I finished 20 minutes early.
Amazing. That was a lot. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Discussion?
There's so much
thank you.
going on. It's
There's so
really
much
hard to
going on.
narrow down. I'm really proud of this year and this team so far.
That's awesome. We do have on the agenda the first quarter approval, consider approval of the first quarterly report, which I think is linked below. If I'm looking at the agenda, well, I think we maybe have the wrong thing linked.
It's linked and it's in the packet, isn't it?
Is it in the packet too?
It's in the packet, yeah.
Oh, it's in the packet. Okay. Just kidding. Okay. So,
That correctly labeled was an annual report.
well, there's two pieces here. I think the agenda item C under the director's report is the first quarterly report for the authorizer. So I think it would be good to follow that and review that. And that does have to be approved because it's due October 9th, I believe.
It's confusing. The first quarterly
Yeah.
report is the annual
The
report
annual
from the
report.
previous year.
Yes,
Containing attendance data from the year before that.
yes, which is not super helpful. So- Huh?
It's super fun to fill out, by the way.
I can imagine.
Right.
I'm
It's
pretty sure
which
it's the
one?
RPA.
Okay.
Oh, you got it? Oh, never mind.
No, just switch it now. Said it out loud.
I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
I
kidding.
just said it out loud.
Oh, no.
You probably have to switch it. I mean, we'll see. Kevin will have to go back and listen for it.
All right.
Instead of the kid listening to board meetings,
Yeah,
like kudos to that kid.
yeah, for sure. Honestly, leave it. If any kid gets it because they watched a board meeting, make it happen.
Excellent. Okay,
Right, every month.
so we're gonna continue with the first Q1 authorizer report.
It's once a month.
Which is included in the packet starting on page 22. It is robust, but just wanted to open it up for discussion, questions, concerns of anything listed in that Q1 report to the authorizer.
So maybe it follows standard of all previous reports.
Yeah, it is a formatted report that each quarter, I believe they ask different things that you report.
They give
back.
us a template, yeah, and then we always look at the year before. Some things can continue because some things haven't changed, and then, yeah, we go from there.
I know this, you touched on this with the fifth grade math, but one of the things that I was curious about was there were some pretty significant improvements in some grades in terms of MCA scores. But just really seemed to falter in that fifth grade. And do you guys have any sense as to where that or why it's happening?
It's the first year that they do math and English.
It's a lot of vocabulary.
Okay.
Speaking is one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of reviewing of, oh, they know multiplication, but now it's you just something as simple as the actual symbol is different.
Mm-hmm.
And remembering that commas and decimals are backwards in German and in English can really mess with them for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of just relearning how to math.
How to math.
They do seem to be a little bit lower in the last couple of years, and we did change the curriculum. And so that's what we're going to investigate in the curriculum advisory committee, and we're going to dig deeper into the strands of the MCAs and things and see if we're missing. There is no perfect book that's written for Minnesota standards, and the MCA is completely written to Minnesota standards. So the book that we have is Common Core, the FastBridge is Common Core, and the FastBridge shows us doing better than the MCAs. So it's like this cocktail that we're just trying to figure out.
That's interesting. The other question I had just looking at this initially was with the summer camps. Obviously that's a revenue source for us, and there was a bit of a dip. And I know Daisy has some great ideas planned. But just wondering if there was any feedback from participants this year as to what they enjoyed, what they would like to see repeated, or things that she's kind of looking to build, successes that she's looking to build on.
That's interesting because I don't know about that, but we heard feedback from parents who did not choose our summer camp about what they did send their kids to.
Okay.
And so we've got that list forming. Like, we have to get a cardboard camp. How do we not have a cardboard camp? Right, yeah, we could fill that thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we do have an idea of, I think, where our holes are and what we'd like to do. And then we also have the idea of kind of upping the academic game a little bit too, and having a math and science academy. So, but it's a good question. I don't know if,
One thing Daisy towards the end of the summer, this past summer, wanted to implement and started to, but really wants to next summer is themed weeks. So regardless of what's going on with summer camps, the kids typically then flow into Kinder Club after camps are over, and she wants to have it so that it's not just a monotonous summer for these kids, and it's actually exciting to get kind of a rejuvenated excitement about it in general.
Yeah. One thing I asked her, we end our camps after the first week in August. We don't go back until the last week in August, and there's 2 weeks in the middle where our team probably takes off and refreshes and does all that. But I asked, is that typical? Are we losing families because they have to go somewhere else, so then they're just going somewhere else? And could we take a look at doing something different with those 2 weeks?
Or maybe in partnership with somebody else.
It's cardboard, yeah.
So Richard,
Big things with cardboard.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
and so expensive.
A few years, it's expensive, but then a few years ago, I tried to sign up my kid, made an appointment on my calendar to sign up, like 8 minutes late, it was filled. It's insane how popular it is. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Yes.
that's
Cardboard
every
can't
family
afford it
to
all.
start saving cardboard.
Yeah.
And 30 kids worth by school.
One question that comes to my mind is, as this was getting filled out, was there anything that came up as you were pulling all the data together that surprised you or you thought was insightful that you hadn't found in a different from a different source?
No, and I think that's probably good.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, no. It was all stuff that we kind of live in and out of. There are parts of it that I had never done before. But I've always read the whole thing, so yeah, no, I don't think so.
I know one of the areas of opportunities that you listed was the SEL curriculum, and I know a lot of work's been done on that the past couple of years. Can you just talk to some of the thoughts about not having a German equivalent and like how?
Yeah, we have
Some
no
of-
shortage of resources on SEL, but we do have a shortage of resources on German materials. And so we actually put a feeler out to the German equivalent of Second Step. And someone is attending an online workshop to just learn a little bit more about what that would look like. There is a German version of it, but you have to be in Germany in order to attend this week-long PD, and they won't just give it to anybody. So we're gonna try and see if there's a possibility of getting somebody into this workshop, because it would be a game changer, a total game changer. Other than that, with SEL, we sometimes have a hard buy-in with our students, with our staff, with their parents, because academics is really important too. And so we go back to our mission. Our mission does have both. Our mission does say whole child. So I don't remember exactly what I wrote about that, but I think it's an opportunity. Our teachers seem to be saying, tell me what to do. I'll do whatever it is, just tell me what to do. And so that's what Catherine has been doing this year, is just going month by month, choosing a theme, choosing the resources, and just pointing people in the direction.
Awesome. All right, any other comments, questions, areas of discussion? Right, I think we do have to officially sign off on this one, right? So. All right, I will make a motion then to approve the Q1 authorizer report for school year 20. Well, the annual report, sorry. Annual report for school year 2023, 2024.
I'll second.
Thank you. Suppose we should have done that before we discussed, but. All right. Then we'll just say all in favor of approval of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Right. Annual report is approved.
The first quarter.
First quarter. Oh my gosh. Could it be any more confusing? Sorry, I was looking at the screen. First quarterly report.
I mean, it says quarterly report on the screen also.
I was looking at the main screen. It didn't say that. It said annual. Okay. Sorry. Do I need to redo the emotion?
No, you're good.
Okay. All right.
I think it's break time then.
Is it break time?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to
the annual evaluation.
Yes.
Review and discuss, I guess.
Oh, is that too?
Our next, that's why it's so confusing.
That's why.
Because, yes. That's the
Because at the
next
same
one.
time that we send out the annual
Yes.
for last year, we are getting the eval from the year prior.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't actually, yeah.
So. Yeah. It's the PDF. That's linked.
Number 6.
Number 6 with the link. So this is also for 2023, 2024 school year. With the exception of the attendance data, which is based on 2022, 2023. So this is the official authorizer report that rates us in various categories. Everything from academic performance to board performance. I believe this is what was shared out at committee of the whole. So you all should have had time to review it. I do not think we officially need to approve this one, but if we do have questions.
I do have a
Yes,
question.
Director
Did
Albrecht.
we ever find out more about 3.12, the one about attendance and why it was marked as a 1?
Yeah, we did. So we reached out to Terry Moffett. And she explained that there has been some confusion about that number across the board. MDE wants us to use a certain number, those numbers weren't accurate, et cetera. When we cross-checked today, I had Esther pull data according to students attending 90% of the year. Our number is actually 81.2%, which is higher than the 66.69%, but still would put us at a rating of 1. So Terry is crunching the numbers again on the organizational aptitude score was like a 2.84
or something
was it
like
8?
that.
Yeah, 2.8. And it's below 3 because of this score.
Mhm.
And so she's going to get back to us on the math. She apologized in advance for the math. She said the math is weird. They were trying to convince MDE that they should be using a different metric.
And you said
Um,
it's the amount of students that are attending 90%
90%
or
or
more.
Yeah, and so what was interesting is that when Esther pulled the data and we looked at this today, this is from 22-23, and so a lot of
Yeah.
kids did have COVID and
Right.
were out for 5 days at a time. And so attendance was really wretched that year. But we also do know that we have somewhere in our family handbook written, I don't know exactly how it's stated, but that families can take up to 5 days for a trip, and we might need to think about how we word that. We might need to think about that because it is digging us on our attendance rate.
So in the report, though, it does not specify that the 90% thing. It just
does
says,
not.
it just says the attendance rate is less than 85%.
It's 85% of 90%.
That's-
85% of
That's
the.
what's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should. feel
I can pull up
it-
the email from her and maybe,
No, it's fine. I just feel like it's very unclear based on how the actual assessment is worded.
yeah, I agree. And she didn't disagree.
And to have to just meet the standard, to have your attendance rate of 90% attendance of
Students.
90 to 94.9.
She said, we have historically used the MDE report card consistent attendance rate, which discontinued after the pandemic. I get that. And is now being used again. So given that it is based on the number of students attending a minimum of 90% of the days, it is usually much lower than the student reported rate, the school reported rate. I have it on my agenda to discuss with our board to determine if we can go back to the school reported rate, which ours would be 81.2%, which to me seems more accurate and more informative.
Mhm.
So I will check your annual report for last year to see if you reported it, unless you know it off the top of your head. No, Terry Moffett, I do not. Once I have your percentage, I can change that benchmark score and resubmit it, is what she said.
What's its 90%?
So it's the number of students that attend school 90% of the time or more.
So the student doesn't attend 90%. They don't.
I think they count
They
against.
count
They
against
count
you.
against.
But just to meet the standard, you have to be at 90%.
Means you missed 18 days or more. It's a lot.
To be at 90% of attendance.
To be below.
To go be below 90.
Wow, that is a lot.
Does that include tardies or like,
No.
okay,
Oh, so
The
this
state doesn't care
means
about tardies.
I figured. not, but-
66.9% of our students were
The
here
state cares about.
90%.
90% of the time or more.
But that doesn't, that's
Got it.
not clear.
Okay.
Say that again.
It's not-
Are you serious?
I was listening over here. So.
No.
So our
like, you
score
really-
is,
So right now, 66.9% of our students were here 90%.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
in
that makes sense.
2022,
In
2023.
2023.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
I was just trying to understand.
Yes.
Yes,
Got
the guidelines for COVID at that time.
And at
were
that
to
time
be
were
out.
5 days.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's cues it.
Yeah.
Keep
hugely.
Well, I just can't figure out why we still have that data in this last.
And how many days can you miss and still be above 90%? 18? Is that what you said?
That's what they calculate.
How many school days are there?
On
70.
180.
Yeah. or 170.
So.
90% attendance would be 162
I
days.
guess, yeah, probably that makes sense.
And do we have a lot of kids missing 18 days of school? Seems like a lot.
In COVID years.
Well, in COVID years, for sure,
Right, that's
you had to
what
be
we're
out at
talking
least
And
5,
this is
but-
from,
which is
Because
also,
of, they have
yeah,
to be out for 5 days.
right. But on average, like, it
But
doesn't
a
seem like.
non-COVID year number, I would expect.
So last year was 80.
Yeah. 81 something, yeah.
just closer to approaching.
Which is still.
Which is still a 1.
But I'll just say it's also more confusing because there are our Mars report was different than our report card on MDE, than our Infinite Campus. It just seems like that, like everyone's doing it differently. And that's why Terry was also not
Yeah.
surprised that we were confused.
Mhm. Any other questions besides all of those?
Sorry.
Can we let kids do virtual learning if they're homesick in college this year?
Not anymore. There needs to be.
There needs to be.
I can't remember what those words are. It's sort of interaction, meaningful interaction, I
Yeah.
think is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you-
Meaningful interaction.
Do you think we have more kids? Just because I do feel like we have a lot of international travel and things like that, that we have, that's maybe great culturally, but
Impacting the number
yeah,
though.
because I do wonder how many, if we pulled that number of attendance.
I will
How
tell
many
you
kids
that
are-
we compared our number for 22-23 compared to Leela. We were higher than Leela. We were lower than Yinghua. We were exactly the same as Cologne. And we were higher than La Ola del Lago, which are the schools that Terry is comparing us to.
These are other international charter schools.
They are other schools that have language in their mission,
Interesting.
but our free and reduced population is lower than every single one of them. So whatever that says.
Great. Any further discussion?
One other idea. Maybe we could like let parents know if they're like. Yeah, I don't know how many days my kid missed last year.
Well, we do have a truancy procedure, so those parents do know. Because if you
Is it
are-
considered truancy?
16 days.
Yeah, but if I let the school know that they're gonna be out.
Oh,
for a reason
you're
X, Y,
right,
Z, wouldn't be, right?
At some point, the state will get involved with excuse.
At some point, I think they still get.
I
would still
I
get a
was
letter
told that,
saying you had this many absences, regardless of it's excused or unexcused.
I think at one point I was told that like after 15 days. They have to start reporting it to the state. And then after so many days, then the state actually cares. But I
Yeah,
don't
there's
remember how
the
many.
Be It School Act that. sometimes-
Either way, if I get a report like in the middle of the year that says your kid missed 16 days already, I might
Or in the
like
parent.
think
who would-
about it when she tells me she's sick.
Or in the parent that would have. Absolutely.
Right, so in Ramsey County, it's 3 unexcused absences in an elementary school. Start to look at truancy, so, yeah.
We
They
don't have to solve
they
it
don't-
tonight.
They do not get involved in excused absences.
It'll be interesting to look at that policy though, about
Yeah.
vacation days, things like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not up for the rotation this year.
Okay,
Director
Emma, is
Albers?
that enough discussion on your question?
I think it opened about 4 more discussions, so I'm good with it.
All right, we are slightly ahead of schedule, so I will give you guys the option of moving to agenda item number 8 until 8:10, or if we'd like to take an early recess. Reconvene.
I'd like to take an early recess.
I would too.
Kim can-
Excellent. Great. All right, we will recess until 8:10.
Yeah. Should work.
I'm ready to do out.
Oh, I was kind of liking the half. All right, we're back.
Looks like I'm not there.
Big spots.
Thank you for looking in. So they see there is someone.
Yep, it's just not wide enough angle. All right, are we good? Okay. It is 8:11 and we will call this September board meeting of the Twin Cities German Immersion Board of Directors back into session. Our next item on the agenda, I'm just gonna get myself rolling again, is our review and approval of the performance objectives and goals for Executive Director Elizabeth Zanfenig. We are a little bit behind in getting these set this year just because of kind of the timing of Elizabeth taking on this role and the new board, but we are rocking and rolling. So just want to review those as a group and make sure that we're all on the same page for those performance evaluation metrics. So before we discuss, I guess I will make a motion to review and approve the school year 2024-2025 performance objectives and professional development goals for Elizabeth Zanfenig. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Director Lindner. Yeah, discussion. I think just to kind of provide everybody with a recap, the executive committee met a couple times to look through various best practices for executive director goals that align with kind of key performance indicators for a healthy and stable charter school. And that's what these goals were based upon. Given the timing of Elizabeth's tenure so far, we opted to set kind of tiered goals for the year. So each objective has a immediate goal followed by a more midterm goal, and then also recognizes the many ongoing tasks that the ED is responsible for. So while there's not necessarily specific goals around those, just wanting to acknowledge that work and kind of those responsibilities as well. So that's how those objectives came to be, but would certainly welcome any discussion or feedback that any other board members have or Director Zanfenig has.
Well, my question to Director Zanfenig is, are you feeling comfortable with this? Can achieve?
Thanks for that question. I felt very supported at the committee of the whole when they were discussed for the first time. I've seen them a couple of times, so I felt included in the process. I think that's really great. My feedback was accepted on the one suggestion that I had. I really liked the conversation around something like MCA scores while we're looking at those from a year that I wasn't necessarily the ED. So I just appreciated the flexibility there. And I feel like they all align with the strategic vision that we have for the school. So yeah, I do feel very supported. Thank you.
Was that your question? Do you feel supported with these?
Did I get that right? Is that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Do I
Do you feel
feel
comfortable with the goals?
Yeah, that's what.
Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
I do.
So you, yeah.
So two changes that we did make, and Elizabeth was alluded to these since committee of the whole, was we did adjust the enrollment immediate goal number 2 under objective 2 to be more aligned with applications versus students. So assuming a 50% acceptance rate, and that we may adjust that based on feedback that I did not receive in time for this meeting, but it still makes sense with how it's written right now. And then the other change that we made was adjusting that wording around MCA data, as Elizabeth mentioned, to be focused on the immediate goal being focused on implementing actions based on last year's MCA results, which were already discussed earlier tonight, and then moving that more specific MCA goal toward a midterm goal for this year.
Meaning, what do we do with that data? What do we do now that we know it?
Yep. Which is what the immediate goal is focused on.
Yeah, I like it.
Can we make a change? I don't know why I didn't notice this last time.
Sure.
Objective 4, Elizabeth, I want to make sure you're good with this. Can we change immediate goal number 2 to midterm goal number 1 and make a new immediate goal number 2 to have a deadline of like, when are we gonna do your review? January-ish,
Yes.
January or
January-ish.
February? That we can have meeting, like our first meeting done or scheduled or something,
Oh, sure.
cause that's more like
Yeah,
like
Showing
a
around.
progress, yeah.
right. Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
would
ask
say
the
2
same thing.
meetings. I think
So
that would
have
be the
like-
goal by January.
Have 2 meetings, you think?
Mhm.
Okay,
So changing that,
so just change what's there, immediate goal number 1 to midterm goal number 1. And adding immediate goal, a new immediate goal number 2, that is have. Yeah, have had at least 1 meeting and 2 more meetings scheduled by December 31st. Is that reasonable? Have met once and have. at
One meeting
least
by December 31st.
1 meeting by December
Absolutely.
31st and 2 more scheduled.
From there, so I'm just trying to
Nope.
capture
if
the-
you can type it, so immediate goal number 2 would be 1 meeting by December 31st. Yeah, and would it be CBA meetings?
Just CBA meetings.
And not scheduled, but
A sentence from midterm
Completed.
goal number 1 and add it to the
In
beginning.
partnership with operations
Yep.
team, yeah.
is it scheduled or completed?
One completed and at least 1 more or 2 more scheduled.
Yep.
Like we should have had our initial meeting because that means we have our initial proposal
Mhm.
done by then. Then everything else is kind of like as it goes, but that's your real deadline is having the initial proposal done.
Mhm.
And yeah, explain to me.
So immediate goal now, number 2 now reads in partnership with the operations team, legal counsel and board have 1 CBA meeting completed by December 31st, 2024, and 1 to 2 more scheduled for early.
Honestly, you can, that reads, we just remove the schedule thing, because the first meeting being done means that is the accomplishment, because it means that the initial proposal is done.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Thank you for that. Otherwise, I think the rest of them are great. Thank you to everybody that worked on them.
I have one tiny concern, and I hate to mention it because I don't want to look like I'm doing anything, but I honestly don't know where we will have space for all parents to be in our school. So this is the thing that's keeping me up at night.
Which one?
The first one is initiate 2 all-school parent engagement events. I'm just panicking about our space on that. So
June? I don't,
if anyone wants to problem solve that space thing with me, I have great ideas about the engagement. It's the space thing that's bugging me.
Yeah, I think,
we can figure it out.
See if the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that,
Oh, I don't think the expectation is that all the parents are here. It's just that
They will
everybody's
all be
invited.
invited.
It's
Everybody
not
was
like a
invited.
spec-
Invited.
Yeah.
Not a specific group. of
it's not like
people that's invited.
capstone or middle school night or
Yeah.
something.
And honestly, event could be a hangout on the playground once it's done.
Yeah, I get that. I
Yep.
guess I
And I
would,
think, or
I
like
would
the,
almost add, like, I think when we split our school into ES and MS, sometimes we have a lot of leverage there. And so that's also helpful. And so
Mhm.
just thinking about what all, so I just hear flexibility with what all parent needs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I need here.
Shoot. Hold on, I think I get. So initiate 2 all school.
I didn't initiate it.
I mean, wasn't back to school night 1?
I think what I would be thinking about is the co-led back to school orientation or school that the parent council is working on, that you're working with them on.
Mhm.
Like, I think
That's one.
that's one.
And I guess my input here, which maybe led to the all parent part of it, was more of a social thing, getting parents here. So not necessarily an event that where they can necessarily engage with administrators and talk about operations and strategically, just getting parents here, all of them, like not a specific group of them, like everybody invited, like a playground thing or something.
To Elizabeth's point, though, the word initiate as written seems like it needs to come from the office of this bit for it to come. Right? If you want to be a nitpicky as written,
Mhm.
that's, she's right, that's how it reads.
Mhm.
So some of these things that we talked about, like the parent counseling, is not technically initiated, so maybe.
Which is why I also got
Yeah.
stuck on all school
Right,
and to talk about the mission. Those are 3
Okay,
really specific
I have an-
things.
So put a period after events. So during the 24, it should be 24-25
Yep, yep.
year, initiate 2 all school parent engagement events, period. And provide opportunities for families to engage with administrators. So that's 2 separate ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then then there's not really like a hard set threshold of what that means, but you can show us what you think it means and everything, and we can discuss that. But I think, my concern was that I want parents to get back here. I think that helps with our community and will help with retaining and everything.
Yeah.
Well, and I think even, you briefly mentioned the idea of like having coffee with the executive director, like
Maybe we booked it today.
maybe you booked it today. So I mean, I think
have
things like
good-
that,
Good
right?
ideas. I just want to make sure that
Yep.
I'm hitting that one because it seems very specific.
Yes. I think it's meant to be
I think it's-
specific in a helpful, not hindering
Yeah.
kind of way.
And I think it's a little less specific now.
Yeah.
But
Curious to
still
make a big
impactful.
difference. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that was completely legitimate. concern.
I wish we had a better space.
Yeah.
Wish we had an auditorium or a space where, even chairs for all of those parents to sit on.
Mhm.
I can't do a State of the Union address like I would kind of like to. We don't really have that space.
Well, you could have one, make them all sit on the
We
floor
have
and then
chairs in
beginning of
the
it be like, hey, we're having a fundraiser to buy chairs.
Scan this QR code that's on the screen.
Really good idea.
It's like, yeah,
$1 for a chair.
$1 for a chair. Yeah. Yes.
BYOC.
It has to be this particular chair though. You have to look at this particular chair, so they all match. Yeah, here's the Amazon link. All right.
Oh, no, that is.
Any other
Again,
Feedback.
thanks to everybody that worked for this. If Elizabeth is comfortable with it, I'm very comfortable with it and think it's great.
Excellent. All right. All those in favor of approving the 2024-2025 performance objectives and goals for Elizabeth Zanfening as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries and we have a performance document. Excellent. Right. That moves us to our next agenda item, which is board committee reports. And I see that fundraising is first on the on the list. Director Smaka is not here due to a obligation that she had in pursuit of her PhD. So for good reason, she's not here, but I did attend half of the fundraising and development meeting, so I can give a brief overview. We did initially review the charter. I don't know if the committee landed on fully approving that, so I think I might hold on asking for approval on that until October. We did just kind of help Lindsay get acclimated with the activities of the committee, kind of some of the traditional things that we do around the fall campaign, as well as just kind of talking through some of the goals for the year. I know Director Lidner was also there. If there's anything I'm missing that I did have to hop off a little early.
You're correct that we didn't approve the agenda because we had some question around the capstone
Mhm.
fundraiser, because they're doing their own fundraising, if it should be mission of the fundraising committee. You have capstone in there since they're doing their own fundraising. So
Yeah, I think that's a continued discussion. It has historically been separate because it essentially is a pass-through fund. So it doesn't necessarily offset our goal of the annual fund, which is the budgetary approved amount. It just is a pass-through. for capstone.
otherwise we discussed, okay, since things are rolling, we need to get rolling too.
Yep. Absolutely. Time is of the essence. So
Can you send me the fundraising and fill in the agenda?
certainly can. After this meeting. Actually. Excellent. And committee of the whole is next. So we met earlier this month, and a lot of what has been discussed here tonight was also discussed at committee of the whole, particularly some just general conversation around enrollment, around our new marketing partner, as well as reviewing the director's objectives and goals, and a more in-depth conversation about some additional task forces or committees to dive a little bit deeper into understanding finances and monitoring those for the suggestion of Director Hyde. So oftentimes our committee meetings are full and would like to be able to devote the adequate time to discussing those budgetary concerns. That was the recap of that, and I do have the charter updated for committee of the whole, so that would be ready to be approved tonight. But we can maybe identify all the charters that need to be approved tonight at the end of reports, and then vote on those collectively. I'm going to skip to then finance and facilities.
We did not have a meeting in September. However, we have an action item. It's a yearly action item. And we do it because the auditors like to see it in our official documentation of the last year. So, and it always happens at this board meeting because it takes Kelly and everybody time to get things finalized, but we cannot end our food service fund in a negative balance. We have to transfer the discrepancy from the general fund, and we have to just, the auditors want to see us vote to approve it. So last year we transferred $19,632.38 from the general fund to the food service fund to make that be zero. 67 of it covers intern meals, 6,700 of it approximately covers intern meals. So I will propose, or I will make a motion to authorize the transfer of $19,632.38 from the general fund to the food service fund for fiscal year 24. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? You want me to say it? Want to say it?
No, any discussion? So, I mean, this is maybe a dumb question, but if the state is covering this food service, why is there still so?
Because they don't give us enough for it,
Because
just
they
like most
don't
things.
cover-
Right,
Because they have said they will, and then that also depends on vendors and.
Same reason they say they cover busing, but they only cover 60% of it.
yeah, I mean, could assume that was the answer. What are vendors doing to become more competitive? I mean, are they helping schools in any way to become more competitive in terms of the food and the services that they're providing that fit within what schools are being reimbursed by the state?
It's a good question, and I wish Kate was here, because she would say when that contract is due. I'm pretty sure that it's a 3-year contract,
Okay.
or in the last year of it or something, so it might be something that we'll be able to look at, but.
Yeah, honestly, and when they first came out with what the reimbursement rates were, I was just super excited to see that they were actually quite a bit higher than what food costs, because I thought the state was just gonna cover the food. They don't, they actually cover more than the food, but it's not quite enough to cover all of our staffing stuff that goes into it. So the more kids we get to order lunch, you know, the better that number will get. So I know the staff has been doing a lot to promote parents registering in Blooming on time, especially parents like me that forget often and their kid has to wait a week. So,
That first
yeah,
week of the month is just killer.
exactly. So like they're doing great about sending out. Now they send out, like, I got one today or yesterday that was like, hey, you still have 4 days before the window closes. It is horrible,
yeah.
but it's not the app's fault. I forget everything.
If we made it by default, everybody gets a lunch, I don't know what percentage eats, would there be a lot of waste?
There would be a lot of waste, and I don't
Requirement.
think we can do that.
It's like the requirement of the state.
Central does it,
Central does it?
because
Correct.
I've never signed up for my lunch, for a kid for my lunch, and he can get it whenever he wants it.
Can we make it like an option?
So it's actually a really interesting
Yeah, that's what
question.
I was thinking.
That just looks like it would be a ton.
Do they,
Expense.
Like, what percentage?
they have
are
a kitchen
kids?
now?
So they have a
like
kitchen,
a,
yes, they do, so that might be the difference.
Or can
that's
we like,
my question.
honestly, even if we like could register for the year until I say no, like if when I'm telling you that Berlin's
Yeah.
coming here next year, she wants lunch and breakfast every day unless I tell you otherwise, and I don't have to worry about Burnley. Plus, we pay Burnley, don't we?
It's a service, I mean, it's.
Yes, but is it- I don't know. I think it's worth looking into.
Okay.
Making, like, not even everybody's opt-in, but like an opt-in for the year or something. So we don't have to worry about
Yeah, because if we're missing 1/4 of the year, people miss the first week, that's a lot.
it. Mhm.
I'll, talk about this.
How do they do it?
For sure. Sure.
Or other
Other-
K-8 schools, I feel like. I wonder if it's different when you're in a high school. When you're just not apt to probably bring a lunch versus.
I think the cafeteria versus the heat up kitchen is a big difference, and so
Yeah.
I'll look around and see who does catering
Yeah, we should put the look into food service contract in a previous, on a previous agenda, or sorry, a
Subsequent.
future agenda. But I'll also add, this is an action we do every year. This is actually a substantial, or, it's about twice as much as it has been previous years. However, this is something that we do every year at this point, so.
It's twice as much as this one.
I think it was like, not twice as much, I think it was like 12 last year.
Wow.
Or something like that, I'd have to go back and look, it's a little more. But not like. It's not like other years we made money in food service. And,
Right.
It's not a money.
Alrighty.
we have to go on.
We have to vote on it, yep. So all those in favor of transferring. Put them in front of me.
19.
I think you
19.
can just say all those in favor of the motion.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Excellent. I think that brings us to mission alignment. Anna, mission alignment committee charter.
Oh, community.
oh, I see, I can,
I mean,
Oh,
I
Or
sent.
do you want to give the update and then we can decide if we,
Yeah, I mean, I send it to the board email, so y'all could have a look at it. I adjusted what we talked about. Company of people. I think it's-
I'm looking at a backpack or something.
Yeah, it's not.
It's-
I don't see
It's
it.
not in my.
it's on page
156.
158, or sorry, 150.
It's under the it's an action item underneath committee of the whole.
Hmm. See, it's in the meeting minutes from committee vote.
Oh, is that how it is? Do we want to continue to refine that charter or do you feel like it's in a,
I mean, I think, like I said, I think for a base that's enough, and then we're gonna build on it. And see what we, yeah. Elizabeth also said that you have some other ideas to talk with Paige about, maybe it's could be included in the first meeting. That there is something that, we could also discuss in that committee. And, we have our first PD day coming up, and I think after that PD day, our first meeting. I would say probably November or so. And then.
Mhm.
I have no experience, I think maybe that's how it goes.
And I will say.
Yeah.
That's all really good. It's missing one big thing that all our other charters have. That maybe we should wait is an actual list, like under composition.
Mhm.
It should have an actual list of the members for this year, and we redo these every year.
Mhm.
And I didn't do mine yet for finance years, so. So, maybe that's something we should add and we can approve this one in finance at next month's meeting. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then maybe you guys can connect if you had other ideas. And we can just refine it a little bit, because it's always hard to start a new one from scratch, so. Excellent. Thanks for getting that started. You had the hard job as the
Yeah,
new board
hard job
member.
is like writing it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Remembering who's on the committee and writing them down, that's the easy part.
exactly.
See, or maybe it's not easy.
So next up is executive committee charter. I did update that. Not a whole lot changed from last year, except the members, and some specific school year deliverables, that were slightly tweaked. So if anybody has questions on that? All right. Touched on committee of the whole. Again, nothing dramatically different from years past. With the addition probably of really starting that next round of the strategic plan, which we'll begin discussing at our upcoming board retreat in October. That will be the big lift from this year. All right, Emily, you're next. Governance.
Not a lot changed. Did take out, although I'm actually, I would love, as I was thinking about it tonight, I did take out the part of, it was more in the cross committee work at the bottom of the charter. It used to say working with diversity and belonging committee. However, that's not a board committee anymore, but I think it's something I might put back in as far as just because it's a school committee, I'd love to continue to work with them on policies that are obviously relevant, but also looking at moving forward, especially as we continue to work on our goal of diversifying. And so that would be the one change that I would make to my own charter again, is to just put that back in there, but just recognizing that it's not a board committee anymore. But otherwise, we have a lot coming in from the state, and that's kind of our main goal this year, is to kind of make sure we're staying within their things. Well, from last year, I should say, and all that. Yeah, it's the last legislative session was a little insane, both in a good way, but also from a work standpoint, just a bit much. So, our main goal is to also try and take a lot of these templated policies, try them for a year or two, and then go from there and see what do we need to fix, what do we need to work on for our school specifically. They're geared towards charter schools. We're obviously changing language to fit our school more specifically, but at the same time, instead of spending a ton of time trying to nitpick everything in the new policies, take them kind of as they're coming, whether they're from Max or from MISBA, and use them for a year, like the procurement policy, and then revisit them again next year. We have a little bit more of an operational standard or understanding of how they work. So that's our big goal for this year, is to keep afloat.
Did you want to wait on approving that, or do you just want to amend it?
I'll just amend it if that's okay.
Yep. Great. Did you guys, is that your committee update as well?
No.
Yeah.
My committee actually has not seen this, so if it's better to wait and have them review it, that's fine. We met before the charters were kind of back on my radar again. And we did not talk about it at the September meeting. So I can, if that changes things, I can bring it to them in October. We meet later in October because of fall break, so.
I think it's fine, and then if we need to amend it, we can.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't think it's dramatically different than last year.
Yeah, no, do you want the committee report or should I wait?
No, go ahead.
There's not much, there's nothing to approve this month because we're kind of in a stagnant part of trying to get a lot of these, as I mentioned, first policies, new policies read. We've got stock epinephrine. So this is for students that have not been identified with allergies. Once we have this policy in place, we can have 2 kid-sized doses and 2 adult-sized doses on hand for anyone to use. in case there's an unknown allergy within the community. It's somewhat similar, but not completely similar to the overdose policy. Obviously, there's other things involved with those, and allergies are a different kind of thing than overdoses. But in order to have that stock epinephrine, we have to have this policy. So we looked at South St. Paul, and then also one other school that we're going to take, it was Minnetonka, I think, and we're going to take one of theirs that seems best to kind of work our way around. But we did have some questions about making sure that emergency medical authority are in place and updated, and there's communication once this is approved to go out, but that's not up for approval tonight, nor are the journalism policy, the library materials policy, and then policies we've already had in place. So look forward to a long list of talkings next month.
Excellent. All right.
Before we move on from charters.
Yeah.
I just had an idea today while I was looking for the finance committee charter from last year to update it.
Mm-hmm.
We should all add them to our rolling agendas.
That is a good idea.
It should all also be in the board folders that are accessible from the web, so we can have, could be linked in the charter or the.
Yeah, just like
agenda.
in the header of the, So let's all make it a habit of that.
Most are, but not all.
Okay, perfect. I guess one of the ones that's not.
I have a question about the, like the campus planning has a charter, parents council will work on a charter. Do those charters also need to be board approved?
Their admin charters don't do it. Because these are board committee charters, we sanction. You sanction.
So even though we are required to have, for example, a campus planning committee by state statute.
Wait,
I mean, to my knowledge, and maybe it's something that we can throw on the governance agenda for next time, Emily, just to chat about. But to my knowledge, these have to be approved by the board because they're board committees.
Yeah,
That's not a board committee, that's
the only
admin committee.
requirement.
That's, so if you're,
well, really finance or facilities is a subcommittee of the finance committee.
but campus planning is, that's an
campus
admin
planning
committee.
I was link the two in my mind.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I do too. Well, I did. I tried.
Right, so as I have it in my notes, the charters that are up for approval tonight are Committee of the Whole, Executive Committee, and Governance and Leadership as amended by Director Alves. Is that correct? We'll wait on finance, fundraising, and mission alignment. Okay. So I will make a motion to approve the charters for Committee of the Whole, Executive Committee, and Governance and Leadership Committee as amended by Director Albers. Second. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the board chart or board committee charters as listed, say aye.
Hey,
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, charters are approved. All
I
right,
think we skipped ahead and actually, I think we're at liaison updates.
we are at the liaison updates.
I'll go first as a staff liaison. Staff council is being put together. However, their first meeting has not been done yet. Nor has it been scheduled, but it should be soon. Maybe not by the next board meeting, but the one after.
Is there good participation
Yeah,
or interest?
there's only one position that needs to be filled
Oh.
that they're working on.
Okay.
So all the other, because they do like middle school, elementary school, SPED, and TAs, is that what the four are?
EA,
Or
I
EAs?
think there might be an EA, yeah.
Yeah, so we have three of the four built. They're just looking for, I don't remember if it's SPED or the EAs that they're trying to find someone. whatever one Luke was last year. That's what they're trying to
It's
replace.
special ed, yeah.
That's
He went from the EA to the SPED.
Yep.
All right. Abner, any update from?
Yeah, so I
liaison?
went to the parent council update. They're gonna do elections and update their charter as mentioned in the director's report. And then they are gonna do a parent and social orientation evening on October 7th. Emily has shared the slides that they're planning for that. I think you guys should have all gotten it.
Mhm.
And I unfortunately won't be there because due to work travel that night, but I reached out to her and see if we can talk offline, see if there's any other support needed before then.
That's great. That was a great event last year. I do know that they are asking for, or having people table as well. I think, maybe.
So we left before that portion of the discussion was discussed and decided.
I accidentally ran into them planning it at our new cafe tables in the atrium last Friday.
Happy
And
coincidence.
so, yeah, like Paige is gonna have a table, she's gonna meet with EKs. We're trying to figure out what support they want from front office. There shouldn't be a need for like transportation and lunch and things like that, but if there's somebody available. And then we're gonna basically table too. We're not doing a big State of the Union presentation like Kara did last year. We're just gonna be to engage about our mission, vision and values. And just keep it more open housey. And then we're adding, because we removed the curriculum night, we're adding a teacher table, an ES and an MS one with curriculum and staffed by teachers to engage with parents around.
And I do think the board had a table last year as well,
We did.
so we should probably think about doing that again.
What is this again?
Stickers.
October 7th,
What is it?
the parent orientation. We already talked about school, that structure, how parents can get involved.
For all parents and like,
I did initiate some.
Excellent. That leaves me, administrative liaison. Elizabeth and I meet weekly to just touch base and chat. A lot of the things that we've been talking about lately have really stemmed around enrollment and just getting some of those systems in place to ensure a solid year. So nothing notable, I would say.
Charter Connect was a lot.
Charter Connect was a lot of the conversations, yep. So excited about that. Director Linder joined us for that conversation, as we mentioned, so. Just kind of keep it on. Reviewing the objectives and goals as well.
We're helping each other get started in the year.
Yep.
Great power.
All right. Did I miss it? Any updates from academic officer?
Curriculum advisory committee, as you've heard earlier tonight, is still getting off the ground. Esther has been in touch with both Director Reich and myself to talk about the public forum meeting, feedback meeting. And then you heard from Director Zane Benning, of course, about goals and math. So that is obviously something people can join. There is some rules and stipulations around the committee has to be 2/3 parent. Is that correct?
I just remember majority.
Yeah.
parents, But there might be
It's something like that. So it's kind of parents are more than welcome to join. Let's go with that.
We might have to do some short.
Yeah. See, wellness committee is kind of laying low right now, but they'll get back up since the wellness policy is in committee. And so I'm sending that off to them to see it, but we're also holding it actually, now that I'm remembering things that we talked about, what feels like forever ago, but was like last Monday. Is the student council is also going to give input on the wellness policy. They had ideas, they had thoughts. We'll see what fits with what we did for the triannual assessment. And so that policy will jump back up though, once they've had a chance to look at it, and then it'll be sent off as well to the wellness subcommittee. And SEAC I believe met on Monday. However,
They
it
did.
wasn't on the internal calendar, and so I completely spaced that one, and that's my bad.
It
So-
went out to special education families.
Yeah, and it was in the RIN brief last week, and then as I was thinking about academic officer things tonight, I went, oh my gosh, I completely missed that, didn't I?
I'll
So-
make sure that Andrew.
Yeah, and hopefully they're in the internal calendar or the external. But that is up and running. So if you're interested in being a part of that committee, as always, they do a lot of great work. They have a lot of good discussions around things that impact special education families, and Andrew takes the lead very effortlessly there. So I've really enjoyed being on that committee the last year. So more to come. I think most of these committees meet quarterly or on an as needed basis, depending on attendance. You know, last year, Andrew and I sat in a empty room 100 and nobody came online or in person to the first SEAC meeting. So we kind of revamped, repositioned ourselves and decided to meet again a month later so that people could have an opportunity to introduce themselves to the committee before getting into more of the nitty-gritty work that they do each year. So yeah,
Awesome.
nothing specific yet. We're kind of early off, so.
Feels like it's been,
Mhm,
like we've been in school for a long time,
mhm.
but yet it's still not even, yeah, it's still September. So a lot of stuff still getting underway. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. Any new business? I will just give a quick update on the board retreat we're working on. Since you want to talk about just your outreach to some folks with strategic planning background, and Abner, you can maybe give it your update as
Don't
well.
ask me what the company name because I can't pronounce it.
That's okay.
For contact, I was introduced to Adrian
Green? Sure.
Adrian Jordan, yes. And she is a specialist in a company that specializes in strategic planning and leadership development. So all they do go to companies, C-level, and educate them and build up their leadership. Adrian specifically is geared towards nonprofits, and she has worked with charter schools. She told me that she just finished their strategic planning with them. So I think it would be a really good resource. However, right, there's always
Oh, no.
but it might be a little bit expensive. So she gave me an initial quote for I asked for a 2-hour kind of let's get us going so we know what we're doing. And she was throwing about $1,500 out there. I have not talked to her what that includes, if she does a whole morning workshop or not. So I hope to connect with her tomorrow because connected on Tuesday. And I told her give her till the end of the day to kind of get the proposal together. So I hope I can connect with her tomorrow, if not Monday, and kind of whittle that down a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you for reaching out, and I'm interested to see what she comes back with.
So once I have the full proposal in hand, I will share it out.
The other conversation that we're having, Abner's reached out to.
Yeah, I didn't realize to talk about it now, so I mentioned it at break.
Oh, no, that's fine. Just,
Yeah.
you can give a quick update.
So I talked to Jennifer Kwan Dobbs, who used to be board member. She's currently a dean at St. Olaf College. And she does strategic planning at the collegiate level. And I had a conversation with her. While she did say she doesn't have K-12 experience in strategic planning, what she could help us with is maybe some best practices or tools to use to develop our strategic plan and how to follow up on it and how to talk to it. She said she would be interested in helping us out, but to send her the date and kind of a written description of what we're looking for, and she will let us know. So, so that's another option.
thank you both for reaching out to those resources. That's really helpful. And we'll kind of evaluate everybody's availability, cost, et cetera. Once we kind of have a little bit more details. But in the meantime, if any of you have items for the board retreat that you would like to add to the agenda, please let me know. Obviously, we do need a new board picture because that is outdated. But some things that I've been thinking about thus far, obviously enrollment, and starting the strategic plan. I'd also like to do some thinking about various positions on the board and kind of adding some definition to some of those roles to help just continue to help us be a successful and well-oiled machine. So,
And talk about succession.
and talk about succession. Yes.
I've been to board retreats before. That makes me wonder if I should be inviting. Do we want Catherine there? Do we want us? You had mentioned Esther, maybe, or someone mentioned Esther.
Either, yeah.
Let's whittle down
Kim.
let's whittle down the agenda a little bit.
Yeah, just like.
And then we can, the more the merrier. But
And they can also be invited for. If we're doing strategic planning, Esther can come for that part in the morning, but not for.
one part of me thinks we probably will have to have either another like mini retreat on strategic planning or form some sort of task force working group to actually execute that large of a project for the year. So I'm open to all ideas on how best to do that. So if you've been a part of those processes or have ideas on what you think would be successful, please let me know. That was my only new business thing, which wasn't necessarily new business, but more of an update. All right, anything else? All right,
When's the next copy?
October, I just looked at it today,
That's,
October, maybe the 11th.
we should all try to make it, so we can do a more picture.
great idea.
Are you getting me a sub?
It's in the print
Hmm?
calendar.
Are you getting me a sub?
We'll come to your classroom.
You want a sub?
No, I mean, so it can be on.
Substitute teacher.
I'll sub.
So
Oh, but then I can't. We'll figure it out.
Swag arrives next week if you order your swag. We'll do a school spirit day on the 11th.
When
which
is
we
the
think is
kiddo swag coming next?
Was there not kiddos? I think there was kiddo swag on this order.
Just
Right.
t-shirts.
Got it.
Sorry. I had some very excited kids. And then
And
it's
you
like,
want a childcare sweatshirt?
There's only,
Got it.
there's only,
I'll talk to my swag gal.
I might have mentioned it, but okay.
Those fanny
Excellent.
packs, those fanny packs look good.
They're awesome.
So
They
cute.
do.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. And our meeting is adjourned.